Sam, I wanted to start with you first. Your background is in writing, and you crafted this story with these specific actors in mind. Was that the initial spark for this project, and how did having such a clear sense of what they were capable of shape the way that you approach the story and the characters?
Knowing who they are informs the characters quite a bit, which is really nice. And and when you have a really specific character in mind and you kind of know the problems that the character has, then you just have to figure out how they solve them. And so that's what I really liked about this story. A lot of like scripts and stories I've written in the past, I've kind of known more fully the story outline, the plot points of it's more concept and plot driven. This was not that way at all. This was just like having fun with it, having a real intimate sense of who these characters are and just seeing where they go. And yeah, so it was a fun one and created a character driven story which I really liked.
Credit to you as a writer too, because every character has their own arc within this time frame. And then Michael, you were one of the actors that Sam had in mind while writing this project. What was it about this role that initially resonated with you? And how did your pre-existing friendship with Sam create the space for you to take bigger risk in your performance?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think the character is very complex.
Mhm.
He does horrible things, breaking into homes. He definitely flirts with Dale's wife. No spoilers. Uh, but at the end of the day, he also has so many redeeming qualities, and he
Yeah.
just it felt so human. And the fact that to get to play an AC repairman, I thought would be really interesting because, coming from the Midwest, Sam and I are both from Chicago. I know a lot of my buddies are like, blue collar workers, and I know that world pretty well just from being around them. And just to play one of the guys is very, very fun. And I get some good monologues where I get to talk about that chain smoking cigs, keeping it gritty. That stuff really appealed to me, along with the arc that the character has and how he comes together so well with Odessa Zion's character Kennedy. So, and then when it came to me and Sam, I mean, we've just been buddies for so long, and we've known each other for a decade or more now, and so on set, it's kind of like our usual dynamic, which is we're always having fun, always kind of pitching each other new ideas, new movies. And on set, it's a similar collaboration where we're just open to trying different things, and we know what makes each other laugh. We know what each other likes already. So there was just already so much synergy there. It was just so fun to be in Chicago for a month and be home and with your best friends making a movie. It was the best.
It was
I'm
awesome. And also just to echo that, knowing that I would have Michael on set was a huge comfort to me going into being a first time director
yeah.
and, never having done this before on a huge scale like that with, 60 people on set. Knowing that I had Michael was just very, very comforting, like I said.
That's like one of the beauties of indie
Yeah.
filmmaking. And then, Sam, there's so much intention behind your writing. And I love how the film subtly sets things up early on and then calls back to them in such quiet ways towards the end. What was your approach to kind of crafting those quiet setups and that payoff while also leaving room for your cast to bring their own instincts and emotional truth to those moments?
Yeah, I think there's an interesting structure to this movie in that like you have the only character who's really present in all three acts is Kennedy, the main acts one, two, and three. And then with Michael, you have Michael's entire arc is in basically in act one and act three. And then the rest of the characters are kind of all their one, two, three are all in act two. They're part of Kennedy's big journey through the night and at this house and everything. So everyone has an arc, but it's different timing. And yeah, I love the Michael character so much because it mirrors Kennedy's story, and you set
Mm.
this up that they're kind of on similar pathways in Act One, and you see like, oh shit, he's about to get fired, she's about to get kicked out of school, and then he kind of disappears, and and then when he comes back, hopefully it's just this amazing thing where you're like, oh, there he is. Now this is all clicking and making sense. And yeah, I don't know if I answered the question that well, but I don't know. That's where I went with it.
No, you definitely did it. That's a perfect segue to the question that I had for you, Michael. But I love how your character supports Kennedy and really pushes her to dream bigger and to take risks. And they do that for each other. Is there anybody that's done that in your own life? And did you bring that kind of dynamic into that relationship that we see on screen?
Oh man, that's a hard question. I feel like my whole life I've been looking for a mentor, and they're so hard to find. But I think at the end of the day, even though I come from a family where nobody is even remotely connected with the film industry, I did have parents who listened. They were happy that I was getting a business degree in college, playing baseball, doing all these things that could set me up for the future once I told them that I wanted to be an actor my senior year of college. So when I said that to them, they were very supportive. My mom even bought me the domain michaelvlamis.com for Christmas that year, which I still use to this day, which was one of the most meaningful gifts I had ever gotten. So they definitely encouraged me. She always was like, well, you still have your business job. I was head of marketing for a watch company for many years prior to getting on Roswell. And so she was always so happy that I had that kind of baseline job and I was staying afloat and providing for myself out here in LA. But they never told me that I couldn't do this crazy dream that I had. And they did encourage me to take the risk and keep going with it. I did have a backup plan in their mind. I never did in my mind. So, I would say that, yeah, my parents definitely. And then when it came down to the relationship with Kennedy, um, I talked about this a little bit at TIFF Next Wave when we premiered, but Sam gave me an amazing note in one of our final scenes when I'm talking to Odessa's character. And basically, he said, try this one as if you're talking to your sister, and which was really
Mm,
interesting because there's definitely a little romance going on between them, so it's not totally brother sister, but it isn't totally romance either, so it is a little bit more of a figurehead in her life in this crazy moment that is guiding her in a brotherly way. um and so I think that one note kind of really informed how I speak to her at the end of the movie, and also how I speak to my sisters and how my sisters speak to me
mm.
in real life. And so, yeah, it was kind of an amalgamation of it all. But yeah, no incest in this movie. We are not actually related. Don't worry about that.
It's one
Yeah,
of the most, yeah.
I think just to speak to that, they like when these two characters come together at the end, it's such a weird random coincidence that they're, robbing the same house as Michael puts it in the movie, that they both recognize there's something that's like meant to be here. We're meant to
Mhm.
be in each other's lives in this moment, and let's figure out what that is.
It's one of those moments I think that will stay with audiences after they see this. And Sam, your visual storytelling is so distinct. The way that you use the camera really mirrors the emotional shifts. It's so compelling to watch. What inspired that choice, and how did you go about building that relationship between visuals and emotion?
Um, yeah, I really love Edgar Wright stylistically. It's definitely my favorite. And so just taking from him, but sort of I don't know, feeling out where that actually makes sense and is appropriate, and that's fun and good and effective when it's a comedic, wacky, goofy scene. And I think it can enhance those scenes. You can have a lot of fun with the camera and make moments come to life. But then, yeah, as you shift into the more serious stuff or more emotional stuff, you're gonna want to be closer and more intimate, handheld. And so it just was kind of what felt natural. Like I wanted to move the camera and have as much fun with it as possible, but only where it actually helps tell the story,
Yeah.
doesn't take away from it.
You definitely accomplished that. And then speaking of those tonal shifts, Michael, all these characters, like we were saying, are so layered and they're nuanced, and they take audiences on such an unexpected journey. Your character in particular gets to explore both those comedic moments and the more introspective ones, especially when you're opening up about your insecurities, how the world sees him, and what he values in life. How did you find your way into this character? I guess exploring those different playgrounds and have your own experiences as a writer director helped you find the balance of how far to push a moment or when to pull back.
Yeah, definitely. I think a lot of that comes down to trusting in the direction as well, and honestly, trusting in the writing. I was just there servicing the scenes, servicing the words on the page. And, when you have a good guideline like Sam provided, I have a background in comedy in a lot of ways, and obviously a background in drama too, I guess. But we all have that from just existing in this life, where we can crack a joke. 1 second, I'm talking about incest, and the other second, we're talking about something serious, And I think that that is the beauty of life, and that was the push and pull with this character.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I said this earlier, but I can't echo it enough. It's in the writing, and it's in making him feel grounded and real. And I would say, yeah, as someone who wrote and directed my first feature, Crossword, which Sam is a producer on as well. We all kind of help each other in our friend circle.
Check out
Um,
Cross.
yeah, basically, I would say that understanding a movie from pre-production to post-production and seeing what happens in the edit really allows you, I think, to even become closer and more intertwined with the character's arc and knowing what's going to be necessary. So I'm an actor that, and Sam can attest to it, I never do two takes the same. It's just, for me, it's just not my style. I don't like doing that. I can match certain things, if I jump here, okay, I can jump at that point again, but that jump might be a little different. There might be a little twirl on it. But I give a lot of options, and I think that that's important, because how does anyone know what something is supposed to be in life,
Mm.
So when I give options like that, listen, there might be some takes that are just like, nah, that's definitely not it. And then there's other takes that are like, oh, wow, I didn't even see it that way. Maybe that works, right? So Sam giving me the freedom to try things like that and explore made me feel safe regardless, because I know he has so many options in the edit.
And I love that too. Yeah. I think that's so valuable to, why do it the same way? You already have it. Why, and you ultimately don't know how the edit's going to go. So the more options you have, the better. But also I think, Michael and Kennedy just had such incredible, chemistry, Michael and Odessa,
Yeah.
that they really, you know, cultivated, I don't know, somehow. And they're both just such incredible actors who are so in the moment and so real. And so they were able to just bring so much life to those scenes.
Yeah,
Really
Odessa
incredible.
Odessa is phenomenal. Can't talk more highly about her. I mean, there's certain people that you can change just a blink, a look, and she'll just give you everything in return, as if she is right there mirroring you, fully listening. And it made it so much fun to play with Odessa. I cannot wait to work with her again.
Yeah, as an audience member, when you're watching this film, it feels like the cast is elevating each other's performances throughout. And what a cast you brought together, Sam, for your directorial debut. What was the most surprising thing about this experience? How did you know this was the right story to make this milestone? And what did you learn that you'll bring to the next one?
Um, this was one that I wrote very much to direct. There was never a point where I didn't want to direct it. And it's very much my story. It's, my own coming of age over many years compressed into a couple nights. And so yeah, it was definitely just the perfect one for me to cut my teeth on and, learn how to do this. And I've certainly learned a ton. So I'm excited to do it again. There's too many things I've learned to even sum it up here, but yeah, I mean, really excited to do it again, and excited to get this out into the world so that I can fully focus on the next thing.
There's so much buzz around this film and well-deserved buzz. And Michael, you've worked on projects of all sizes. What is it about independent filmmaking that fuels your kind of your artistic soul?
Well, really, it comes down to, I think, the crew and the cast and everybody involved. When you're working on an indie, you're basically at war every single day together. Sometimes on bigger productions, you know, people are people are always there, I think, for the passion for the most part in our industry. But certain jobs can become paydays, right? Or you're doing it for other reasons. On an indie, if you're there working, you believe in the project because you're not getting paid what you normally get paid. Your hours are going to be a little different. Yeah, you're not going to get a trailer like you do on a big production. You might be just sharing a room with a buddy, which or crashing at Sam's mom's house, which is what I did, and I love that about it. You're just so in it. That's the only way to put it. I feel like you are literally a team at work every single day, and that was kind of something that just coming off Christopher Nolan's movie, The Odyssey, he cultivates that energy on set, even though it's a $250 million production. And I think that
Mm.
there's a reason that one of the best to ever do it is cultivating that similar feel as what we get to experience in these indies, because it just makes everything more special, more connected, more earned. And it's a family that is built on these sets when you're doing an indie.
Yeah, and it lends to the performances that we see on screen. I have one final question for both of you. What's next for this film? And then also what's next for each of you? I feel like this is like the perfect summer film for 2025.
Yeah, we're gonna bring this to theaters in at some point this summer, summer 2025, and we will see where it ends up from there. Still figuring it out.
Yep. And then Sam and I also, working on Crossword, the psychological thriller I directed. Similar situation. We are ready to get that out into the world this year and just trying to find the right timing. We have another festival we're playing at in June, and we'll see. Hopefully after that we can get it out. But otherwise, we're always spitballing ideas. We have everything from comedies to horrors to emotional dramas ready to go, and including some TV shows. So time will tell what happens next. Whatever the universe wants from us, we'll have it ready.